Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and a huge welcome to this morning, this afternoon session, depending on where you're from, to the Postgrad and LLM Insights. Now, the next month, we'll see a whole host of law schools from the USA and Canada join myself and other guests as well to talk about what makes it such a great place to study and what makes their LLM program and law school the perfect place for domestic and international students to come and study. A reminder, this is a live session. If you are watching on Zoom today, please use the chat facility or Q&A facility. If you are watching on social media today, which will be a plugin, please ensure you put your questions in the Messenger tab, whether you're watching on Facebook, LinkedIn, or X. But for now, I'd like to hand you over to Bridget Sandusky. Bridget is the Assistant Dean of Graduate Law Program. She'll be taking you through the next 30 to 40 minutes. I'll be back for the Q&A at the end. See you soon.
Thank you so much. It's really a pleasure to be here with you and everybody else who's joining us live today or potentially watching the recording later on. I am delighted to tell you about Suffolk University Law School, and we are located in Boston, Massachusetts. So for our guests today who have not had an opportunity to come and visit Boston, let me tell you a little bit about where we're located first. Boston is the largest city in New England, and that is in the United States. Sometimes Suffolk University gets confused with being located in the UK, but we are located on the East Coast of the United States, right on the Atlantic Ocean. And by US standards, Boston is a historical city. It is a city of universities. It is just everything that you would want to find as a student coming to look and study for a year in the United States. We have these beautiful cobblestone picturesque streets that you can see in this lovely fall photo that we're entering in. The oldest public park in the United States, established in 1630, is located right outside the door of Suffolk Law School. And we really are a city of innovation. We're the recognized hub for the biotech, life sciences industry. So it's a really exciting and fun city for students to study in too. Here you can see we are really located right in the heart of the city, downtown Boston. It is a safe city. We say that Massachusetts and greater Boston area is a city of universities. There are over 50 universities in the greater Boston area only. There is reliable and safe public transportation systems. So students don't have to worry about things like cars. I travel by public transit every day. And here we have this nice quote from Alex, and he graduated from our LLM in Global Law and Technology with 2 specializations in International Law and Business and Intellectual Property and Information Technology. And he's currently the Data Protection Officer and Head of Legal at Oracle. And when I met Alex on travels to Brazil a couple years ago, we had an opportunity to chat. And he said, I wouldn't every single day, I use the sophisticated legal knowledge that I learned at Suffolk Law School, that I wouldn't be in the position or the job that I am in today, but for this LLM degree. And for me, as the head of graduate law programs at Suffolk, that is such an impactful statement. It is the best that I can ever hope to hear from our alums, that our program had a positive impact on their career trajectory. So it's always one of the best parts of my jobs is meeting up with our alums on the road and hearing about what they're doing and how our program made a difference in their lives. For many students, they might not be as familiar or looking at LLM programs of the differences between the US educational system and an international educational system. And so we'll just spend just a couple minutes on this just to kind of frame our discussion in my talk this morning. So here in the United States, students complete their high school education generally in 12 years, and then they go on and complete a bachelor's. And that's going to be in any degree. So, from engineering to art and design to political science to history, anything. And then they apply to go to law school. And so that is their JD degree, their Juris Doctor, and they're completing that in 3 to 4 years. It's after they complete that, so 7 years of education typically, that they would be eligible for the LLM, the Master of Laws degree. And then if they wanted to pursue further legal education, they could pursue a doctorate in law, our Doctor of Juridical Science. And Suffolk actually has one of those as well, and I oversee that program. And then looking in comparison to the international educational systems, typically secondary school, 12 to 13 years, and then they're going to go straight into a Bachelor of Laws. And so I'm being very general. This applies to many places around the world, but certainly not all of them. But the vast majority. And then they would go and either have the LLM as part of an integrated master's program attached to their LLB or as a standalone degree. And then they would either decide which path that they want to go afterwards. So I think that's always helpful to kind of have a bigger picture of, what are the differences between U.S. education and international legal education. So Suffolk Law School, we are a large law school, just around 1,200, a little bit under 1,300 students in total. We have over 70 full-time faculty. And because of our location in the heart of Boston, we're able to draw upon an amazing resource, our adjunct law faculty. So these are individuals that are working as practicing partners in major law firms, sitting judges and justices. We have one on the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court that comes and teaches courses every semester. And they're bringing this real life world perspective into the classroom of this is what it says in the book. And so, of course, it's important theory and doctrinal law, you're reading cases for common law, but it's also really important to have and hear from someone who says, I know this is what it says in the book, but let me tell you about what happened today at work. So I think, and it's also an opportunity for our students to broaden their networks. And so that's a really important area that we work with our LLM students on a regular basis of how to network and providing them networking opportunities. That is so critical for LLM students who are international that wish to stay in the United States for a year after completing their LLM degree. That networking, we start from orientation, day one of how to build your network, how to network, and here are opportunities for you to do that. Because we are a larger law school in the United States, and that means we have great resources. And one of those other resources, I already told you about our adjunct faculty, is the sheer number of courses that we offer in a given academic year. So in one semester, we offer over 100 courses. And so it's really difficult to match that at most law schools in the United States. So my job, I'm here in a recruitment capacity, but I'm also the dedicated academic advisor for all of our LLM students. So I work with them one-on-one to take 100 courses and narrow it down to about 4 in a semester. Typically, they'll come to me, Dean Bridget, here are 20 courses I'm interested in taking this semester, and I would say that's a great start, but we have a job to do and kind of narrowing that down really based on what are their career goals. Do they want to take a bar exam? Do they want to specialize? And from there, I might have other course suggestions to be offering them as well. Sparty started as an international student, originally from India. She did an internship at an international company in the second semester of our LLM program. And then she stayed on there for OPT. She received sponsorship. She was able to take and pass the Massachusetts bar exam. And she's, gone to a couple of different types of roles where she is now currently vice president of legal HQO, and this is a company that does software solutions for Fortune 500 companies. So she's done really well for herself. And then here we have first I'll talk about Mariana, who's originally from Brazil, works as an attorney here in Massachusetts, and she was voted the 2024 winner of the Massachusetts Bar Association Outstanding Young Lawyer Award. So really impressive, primarily for her work dealing and working with immigrant populations here in the greater Boston area. So really proud of Mariana. Suffolk Law School itself has a really very interesting founding story. We started in 1906, and we didn't start as a university. So that in and of itself is pretty unique. We started as a law school, and the man who founded Suffolk, his name was Mr. Gleason Archer, and Mr. Gleason Archer couldn't afford to go to law school himself. And in fact, he wouldn't have been able to go without a benefactor who decided he was very impressed with me. He said, "You should go." And he said, "I can't afford it." And he said, "I will pay for you to go." And he did. And then when he went to go and pay him back, he said, "I'm not interested in your money. If you have an opportunity to do this for somebody else, please do so." And so with that in mind, he founded Suffolk Law School at nights in his living room in Roxbury, Massachusetts. And the reason why he decided to do this was because in the early 1900s, which is no surprise, legal education was limited to individuals that were from very wealthy families, and white males. And Mr. Archer thought it didn't matter who you were, where you came from, if your family had money, if you didn't, if you wanted to pursue legal education, you should do so. You should be able to do so. And so with that in mind, he founded Suffolk, and that same dedication and access to opportunity is something that lives within Suffolk. So more than 120, almost 120 years ago, and this still is such an important and critical mission of Suffolk Law School, providing access and opportunity for people to pursue legal education who might not otherwise be able to do so. So that's always just such a wonderful story to share, because not everybody's familiar with that. We are comprised, we now have since grown from a law school to a university with an undergraduate population and a graduate school population. We have students that come from around the world. Over 100 different countries are represented every academic year. And here's some more beautiful pictures of Boston. So on the two right hand, the snowy side and the evening picture, that building is the law school building. So it's a 7-story tall building. The top 2 floors is where the library is located. So as students, you get the best views of the downtown Boston across to Park Street Church and to the Boston Common, which is, you see with this other picture with the public garden. And that is really, it's just steps outside of the law school building. So there's so much to explore. As I said, we are a historical city, the start of the American Revolution, and you can do a walking path throughout all of those various different sites, besides all the typical things that a student might want to do, shopping and restaurants, really wonderful live music scene, theater, concerts, and just a really fun place to come and study for a year or two. Now, those individuals that have joined us today, you might already have the answer to this question of why now? Why are you thinking about pursuing an LLM degree? Why pursue an LLM degree in the United States? And I say that it's these 4 factors below. Culture is driving that. So certainly globalization, when we first, the internet, for many of our young people, they don't remember when we didn't have the internet, but the things like ChatGPT, generative AI is transforming the practice of law. And those individuals that are, deciding, that's not going to, it's going to have a serious impact on how we practice law. It's not going to replace lawyers. I think that's always been everyone's fear, that the generative AI or AI would replace lawyers and the work that we do. It won't replace us, but there's going to be different things that we no longer have to do because we'll have an opportunity to utilize it. And it's just getting smarter and faster. And those students are individuals that say, I can ignore this. It's not going to be something you can ignore it right now, but it's going to be at your detriment. So the students that are, most interested in this and see the value and, this is what the future is going to be, are going to be the individuals that are going to be the most in demand. Suffolk Law School for 10 years now, has been a leader in legal technology. This is something that our dean has felt very strongly about from when he first became dean. It is something that we have been recognized year after year as a leader. And how do we utilize and harness legal technology to be better and more efficient lawyers? How do we better serve our clients? And then also, how can we do some good in this world as well? And so it's really important for the people joining us today to know that this is, something that you really need to be thinking about. So whether or not the law schools, and because we have been such a leader in this area, and if you follow this QR code, it will bring you to the article about Suffolk and legal technology, is I had the breaking news. This is the first I'm going to be sharing this information. That we are going to be launching an LLM in legal innovation and technology. And so this has been a long time that coming, and it is something that we are so excited about to be bringing. We're going to be accepting applications for fall of 2025, and we have a suite of courses because we've been doing this for so long already. We have a concentration within our JD program in legal innovation and technology, and so we have so many courses that we already have. So for us, this is a really, sort of an easy transition to be offering an LLM in this specific area. But now that it's on everybody's mind with ChatGPT, generative AI, Suffolk was recognized for its legal innovation and tech concentration as a top 10 law school innovator by Bloomberg News. And we recently just launched a legal innovation and technology center. So these individuals are doing great work. Important work, and bringing law to individuals that perhaps can't afford a lawyer, but really need to have access to accurate legal information, or how we have students that are developing applications for your smartphone and solving and bringing law, so a temporary restraining order and domestic violence situation. And an individual can go on 2 o'clock in the morning and be able to walk through this form to be able to file this in the middle of the night. So really important work. And that's something that we've been recognized for time and time again for the last 10 years. Here are some pictures from inside the law school. You're going to say, oh, but that looks like a really lovely courtroom. It is a courtroom. It's a live courtroom once a year as a motion docket. But we have 3 of these courtrooms in our law school building, and they are training facilities for our students. So students that want to be trial attorneys, litigators, they're able to do so by really honing and practicing their skills. As we know, the best way to learn any skill is to practice it. And so we really take that to heart. So whether or not students are doing that in our trial advocacy program, in our dispute resolution program, in our clinical training program, or in our legal writing program, Suffolk Law School is the only law school in the United States for 9 years running. That's right, 9 years, having all 4 of these skills-based specialties ranked in the top 20%. So the only law school in the United States. And so what that should tell you is how serious Suffolk takes learning by practice. That's how the best way how to do something is to practice it. You don't automatically just go on a bike and be able to ride it. You have to practice and try again. And so that is what our students are doing in these areas. And if anybody ever thinks about, when you see somebody who is a great lawyer, those are the areas in which you're going to say, oh, wow, those are important skills. How to be a hard negotiator, how to be an effective oral advocate. These are the things that are really important. And, and those are things that we're known for at Suffolk. Victoria graduated from the LLM program several years ago. She's currently one of the 4 senior officers at Travelex, and that is that international currency company where you often would go to the airport and you see that. She's one of the 4 senior officers for that international company. um, classrooms, and then a picture below is from our law school library. Hytham, during the second semester, completed an internship at the Federal District Court. Again, an opportunity for him to get and secure some hands-on legal experience during his LLM program. You're also able to stay after you complete the LLM program and pursue OPT. And our, you know, any individuals today looking at LLM programs, there are more LLM programs around the world than there have ever been. And so there's lots of choices that you have to make. And when I meet with an prospect, somebody that's interested in pursuing an LLM program, I like to tell them, why Suffolk? And I say it's the Suffolk difference. One, hands-on, is our location. Being in the heart of the Boston opens up so many opportunities for you, particularly in employment opportunities and opportunities for networking, and learning from individuals that are practicing law, or who are sitting judges on the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court. Many places are not able to offer that. We have a great deal of flexibility in the different programs that we offer. So we offer 2 LLM programs, and then we offer a third, well, it will soon be 3, but we're still pending ABA acquiescence. And then the Masters of Science and Law Life Sciences program, which is a STEM-approved program, which the big difference there is that you get 3 years of OPT versus only 1 year. And then we have great flexibility both as a day and evening program. Our international students on F1 visas will be coming as full-time students, but you can take courses whenever you work best. So maybe you're an early morning riser and you get out and you're going to go run through the heart of Boston, and get in a nice workout before coming to class, or maybe you like to sleep in and you're often up late nights studying, and you can go and do classes at night. Classes start at 9 o'clock in the morning and at 10 p.m. at night. You can specialize and customize your program. So I have been at Suffolk in a variety of different roles for about 19 years. And so I have just a real in-depth experience at working with our LLM students, with our international students, knowing the courses that are going to be best for them, for what's going to be best if they have this particular goal to take a bar exam, what are the requirements, and then, offering other suggestions. So, having that experience from somebody that is able to work with you one-on-one, I think is irreplaceable. We also have flexibility in that you can begin in our program as soon as January 2025, and we are still currently accepting applications for a spring start date. Or if that's too soon for you, you can begin the program in August of 2025, which is a sort of more traditional start time. I already spoke about the sheer number of courses that we offer in sophisticated and interesting and innovative areas. Every single application, this is always a critical question from anybody who I meet with, is, are there scholarships? And are scholarships just for US students? Absolutely not. At Suffolk, our scholarships are for everyone. And so you do not need to submit any special application, any other special, or financial documents for that. We offer merit-based scholarships. Every application will be automatically reviewed for a merit-based scholarship, and the vast majority of our admitted students will receive some level of merit-based funding. The highest award that we offer is a total of 50% of tuition costs. Unfortunately, at this time, the next question is, do you have full scholarships? And at this point, we do not, but many of our students, it's not as if we only have one 50% tuition scholarship. If students are qualified, there are multiples of those every academic year, every semester that we offer. And then we have a specialized career services office. So this is an office that comes in during orientation. I can invite whomever I want to orientation, but I always invite our professional career development people. And there are two that work primarily with our LLM students, and they do everything from reviewing your resume, making sure it's a US styled resume, to job search strategies. You'll get access to Simplicity and Career Shift, the two main legal job search database systems. If you're not great at networking, they teach you how to network and they offer networking events. If you're not great at interviewing, they do mock interviews. And so that you are really very well prepared. And because we feel so strongly about networking opportunities for our students, every law school student has free membership to the Boston Bar Association, which is a 5-minute walk from the law school, and the Massachusetts Bar Association. So these are individuals that are working attorneys and they can join different section groups. So I go join the young lawyer section group, the foreign attorney section group, IP, business, public interest, health. There's different section groups, and then they have events. And so it's really such a great way for students to kind of ease into networking because it's an area of law that you're interested in. And they're always really happy to talk with you and to meet with the international students as well. And then you can do an internship in your second semester. So you've seen so far, I've spoken about that a couple different times. That is a critical difference as well. Not every LLM program offers that as an opportunity for you too. So in the second semester, at the same time as you're doing coursework, you can do an internship for credit or not for credit. Receive compensation or not receive compensation. Obviously, students always want to receive compensation, but we work with you to be able to secure that. And in my experience, most of the students that want to pursue that as an opportunity do so and are able to do so. Not everybody wants to. So here are two testimonials. If you follow this QR code, you can hear everything about the day in the life of two LLM students, Nishita and Alex. And then here, Marty did an internship at a mid-sized law firm in downtown Boston. And then he returned back home to the Philippines. Oh, he was also a research assistant too, with one of our leading internet and IP faculty members. And then he went back home. He started teaching at a local area Filipino law school, as well as a consultant for the Filipino government regarding environmental water works issues, and was a managing partner at his law firm. And then recently, I think we're going on about 2 years now, he became a trial court judge. And you can really see what an impact he felt his internship and his experience at Suffolk really had on him and his future career path. We have 40 different law school student groups that our students can join. And that's a great opportunity for our students to meet other JD students, other international students, and alums, because when they're doing talks and symposia, they're inviting alumni. Suffolk alumni love to be involved and be supportive of our community. And so it's just another avenue for students to, again, you're going to hate hearing me say that word again, but networking, because it really is important. And our LLM students have come from 70 countries around the world in the past 20 years. That's our oldest LLM program. And Suffolk University is number 5 in the proportion of international students among US institutions. So we are really internationally based university. Here is such a happy picture of graduation day. And I can, immediately see in this picture, we have Brazil, we have Panama, India, Italy, and Vietnam, all shown in one picture, one happy picture. Our oldest LLM is the LLM in Global Law and Technology. You're able to choose from over 85 designated courses. That's over the course of 2 semesters. All international students in either program will be taking US law, legal reasoning and writing, and then a graduate legal writing course as well. You have the opportunity to be specializing, and in doing that, here, there's 4 different options. And so there's IP and IT, international law and business, biotech and health law, and US law and legal methods. And so you have the opportunity to choose to specialize up into 2 of those. And then we have our General Master of Laws. And so this degree, general doesn't appear in the diploma. That's also another question I get. Your diploma will read Master of Laws, and you choose from over 200 elective courses, so that you have great flexibility. And that's where I really come into play, and other faculty members too that you might get to know during your LLM experience, that same required US law course. And then you'll also be doing the legal writing course as well. Primarily students that might be considering about doing the Master of Laws, the general option, for students that are really intent on taking or gaining eligibility to sit for a bar exam in the United States. And so that will lead me into, I thought it was the next slide, but it's the one after. This is it's my second opportunity in being a guest editor on Emails to a Young Lawyer. This is run by a Turkish attorney, a young woman who invites law school deans and directors to come and talk about their programs. So you can learn more about the Global Law and Technology LLM program by following that QR code down on the bottom of your screen. And then here is the bar licensure, because LLM students, this is a frequently misunderstood area. You can take a bar exam in the United States. However, this will require careful planning, and you are not going to be able to take it in just any state. In the United States, licensure for a bar exam is not done on a federal level. I am a licensed attorney in the state of Connecticut. I am not licensed to practice in the United States of America. So it is a state licensure, not a federal licensure. So you're practicing law, you're licensed to practice law in Brazil, in Vietnam, in China, in Germany. This is done state by state, and each state makes their own rules, which can somewhat be difficult to understand. Figuring out what's the best way, which is the best bar, can I be qualified? That's where I come into play. If you do a JD degree, you can take any bar exam in the United States. No, you're automatically qualified. With the LLM, you have to meet certain requirements. You might have to take certain courses. You might have to be licensed as an attorney back in your home country versus being licensed or not being licensed in your home country. And so it's going to depend on that. And so I would work with you to make sure you are able to gain eligibility if that is something that you want to do. And not all of them students want to do that because they may say it's more important for me to specialize in an up-and-coming area of the law. Let's think forward. Maybe that's in the LLM and legal innovation and technology, which will provide you really knowledge, practical skills to really meet the future of practicing law. Application requirements are going to be just like any other LLM program in the United States. We do want students to use LSAC, the LLM, it's the overall area in which you're going to be submitting an application, and then you're able to submit it to Suffolk, and then you can submit it also to a couple other institutions if you want to do that. It often makes it easier for a student, particularly if they are applying to multiple universities. I am happy anybody contacts me to grant them an application fee waiver. So that would waive your $60 application fee, personal statement, resume, 2 letters of recommendation. Often, if you're a young graduate, that's going to be from somebody from the educational institution, versus if you've been out for a couple of years, it's quite common for that to be from another lawyer that you work with, a supervisor, a prior internship, something like that. Official transcripts. We don't have a set GPA. And then obviously, if English is not your first language, you are going to be taking an English language proficiency test. That is very important and critical to your success in any LLM program, is having the requisite English language proficiency to come and learn your new language, which is not the English language, the US legal language. So really do continue to work on that. And we are still accepting applications for January of 2025 or of August. I am happy to meet with students one-on-one with applicants. You can book directly to my calendar by using You Book Me, or you can certainly reach out to me on email or by phone. And so that concludes my part of my PowerPoint, and I'm happy to answer questions, Gareth.
Excellent. Thank you. If you can leave that screen on there, Bridget, I think that was a great insight into Suffolk, and it was great to get an exclusive actually on the new course that's new program that's just launched, shall I say. So I'm going to start there actually, and start with the new LLM that you've launched. Artificial intelligence can be seen as a rival these days. But there's so much to be assisted with, isn't there? And if you use it in the right way, it can really help you not only as a lawyer moving forward, but in everyday life in your studies.
Absolutely. I think for a long time, individuals really have viewed, if you kind of think about a picture, and you have the robots on one side and you have people on the other side. And it was kind of us against them, and we will not be overtaken by the robots. But that's really not what it is. It might be people now, I'd say it's people on one side, and on the other side, it's people and robots, or really machines,
Yeah.
generative AI. That if we work in conjunction with that, there is so much more we can do. If you can think back just, you know, 100 years ago, how legal education or how being a lawyer worked. It was very bespoke. It was you met with the person, you brought out the typewriter, you typed, other individuals are like, typewriter, what's this? Not word processor, typewriter. And it was, very labor intensive. And so for each client, it was brand new, starting all over again. And so I say generative AI is the internet, or is the starting of computers. There are so many opportunities, but there's also opportunities for pitfalls. And so coming to a program like Suffolk, which has been a leader for the past 10 years and one of the first leaders in legal technology, is a really smart thing to do, because it's not that it was just a buzzword for us. And this year we're like, oh, you know what? Everybody's talking about this. Now's our chance. We've been doing it and saying, knock, knock, hey, you got to pay attention to this, because this is going to change the way we practice law and how people are going to do their transactional work. But it's not going to replace lawyers. It's just going to replace some of the tasks that we currently do.
Yeah.
So why don't we can make our lives easier and better. We can make serving clients. So yeah, maybe the billable hour is going to be different. And so law firms who are starting to, are embracing this and, doing their own sort of chat GPT environment just for their law firm, they're already starting to load, documents, and things are just it's gonna get smarter from chat GPT 3 to chat GPT 4. It's astounding how much it has grown and how much better. Can it, do we have to worry about sometimes we have to review things? There are lawyers that have gotten in trouble because they're presenting work that is not theirs, that is inaccurate. And so you have to really be able to, what's the best way to utilize this? And you still need to know the basics so that, if it's spitting something out to you, that you're able to say, okay,
Yeah.
let me, go through this. You can't just say, oh, I'm late for this deadline, I'm going to just submit this to the court. That's where people can get really in trouble and lose their license. But there's no reason why. And in fact, there's every reason to embrace generative AI and do it in a really smart and sophisticated way. And for that, you need training. Whether or not you want to come to Suffolk, you're going to do it with an online course or going to bar associations. This is the type of thing that you can maybe think you're learning in an afternoon at a conference, but it's so much more than that. Of
Yes.
just, it starts there, But I think once people kind of learn more about it and, what is it they need to be concerned about? Obviously, things in regards to privacy is a really big issue and hot topic. And if you're putting in information, it needs to be make sure it's in a secure way, and that people don't get access to that information. But it is such an exciting time
Yeah.
to be a lawyer and to be a young lawyer to be.
I think it's really important to point out as well, yeah, AI, fantastic. You mentioned a few of the platforms as well, but you've got to remember there's a human, inputting and starting all these algorithms and all these new tricks that we've got to this modern day. And, someone started this. Um, and I think the most important thing is when we talk about personal statements and resumes, is be yourself. So if we can just talk about the personal statement to begin with, because that will be so important to you, no doubt. What tricks can you give to students watching that will really enhance their opportunities within their resumes and other opportunities as well?
Great question, Gareth. And, I think for applicants, there are, you need to pay attention and directions when you're submitting an application. You're often verifying that the information you are submitting is done by yourself. And so later on, if they find out that, oh, this isn't you at all, you didn't write this, that can be very problematic. And law schools, we have statements for our students that they're signing in. So each law faculty member is able to change that. There's a sort of a baseline of, how can they utilize, because we're already using AI
Yeah.
when we are typing and it's filling in the word. That's AI. So, spell check, things like that. So you don't want to stop and say you can't use anything, but you do want to put the boundaries and the parameters on that. And your personal statement is an opportunity for the admissions committee to learn about you, as you said, as a human. Why do you want to pursue an LLM degree? Why do you want to pursue an LLM degree at Suffolk? And what are you going to do with an LLM degree? Why is it critical and important to you? And sometimes those stories, the personal statements, they're stories. And I think about, the best ones that I've read over the years, and they fall kind of into two categories. One might be that they're sharing really what inspired them to become a lawyer. And why is that important? So maybe it's something that they saw, maybe it's something they witnessed. There's something that triggered their passion to pursue law. And so, it might be fighting for justice and domestic violence. Maybe it's human rights abuses. Maybe it's, fraud in business types of issues that have impacted their family members. And so they're sharing very sort of personal information. And then there are the others that, aren't sharing that super personal information, but have a very well written, thoughtful, it's always important. Please do spell check, grammar, punctuation, capitalization, and I don't hold it against you, but make sure you're using the right school. So I have had in almost every application season, I'll have an application that will use a different school. I am so excited to go to, let's say, Boston University. And I'm like, well, we're not Boston University. But I don't hold that against them. We know mistakes happen, but it's really nice to, just double check those types of
Yeah.
things and think about, why do you want to pursue this? Like, you are spending a lot of time, effort, and financial resources to pursue an LLM degree. I cannot begin to stress how important it is to make sure it's the right fit for you. Maybe it is that top 5 law school, but maybe it is not, because they might not be what you want.
Yeah.
Maybe it's important for you to be more than a number. You want to be a name. You want to be recognized. You want to have personal attention. You want to have and live in a city where there's access to vibrant, activities and internships. There's so much more to learn about a school and a university than just rankings. location,
Yeah.
course offerings, specializations, that it's, get as much information as you can, particularly if you can visit schools in person, fantastic. But the one good thing I'd say about COVID is that people do Zoom all the time. And so at least it gives you that opportunity to interact with the person that might be running that program. And doing that you would see in the hallways and can ask about, oh, you went to New York City this weekend. How was it? Oh, your mom's visiting you. Of course you can bring her by to meet me. Things like that. It just makes it to be a more personal experience. And at the end of the day, as I said, you're investing a lot in this, 1 year. Make sure it's the right fit for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you know, I want to touch on something that you mentioned about a personal statement about why you want to do this. We had an email and contact. I won't name the person or the law school that they were applying at, and they said, "This sounds really silly. Why I want to study an LLM and study law in particular." They watched a fictional TV program, and they said they were really into it. They loved it. And they said, but that was my reasoning for wanting to do it. That was their love. They loved that TV show and they wanted to follow it, and that gave them the inspiration. And we said, do not be embarrassed. Don't feel ashamed to put that in, because ultimately that's what you want to read. You want to read that you're interested in those kind of things. And hopefully that comes across in a personal statement, right?
Right. And that's what, there is, you know, because personal statements are really a very unique US type of requirement. I always get lots of questions about it, of like, what's the right thing to say? And, there isn't a right thing. As I said, if you're thoughtful, like it's not something you should be writing in 30 minutes. That I will tell you. I'd say it's something you write and then you come back to it, a day later, revise it. Oh, does this read right? Have
It's like a
somebody
diary
else read
almost.
it.
Yeah.
So it's not something that should be done quickly. I'm not saying take, 8 weeks to write it. But it shouldn't be something that you're like, oh, I wrote that personal statement in 20 minutes, because it should be more thoughtful than that. Um, and whichever style that you're looking at. So whether or not it is really more of that personal story and that inspiration. And as I said, I chose some very, examples. But even something in, back in when I went, and I'll really date myself, like an Ally McBeal. And so there was individuals of that you were seeing women as attorneys on a TV show, which you had not seen really as lawyers so much on mainstream US TV. And so I think that sparked a new generation of women saying, oh, well, that looks kind
I
of
can do this.
interesting, funny,
Yeah.
and then you have, more recently for individuals, whether or not it's scandal or, there's lots of different attorney shows in which people will say, wow, I want to be a trial litigator because I watched this movie, this TV show. And so wherever that is, or maybe because you read a book. So, I think
Yeah.
maybe like a book. But To Kill a Mockingbird, or and watching a TV or a movie and saying that seems like really important work. And I want to be a part of that.
Excellent. Just to wrap things up as well, Bridget, intake dates, always important. There'll be people that'll be watching this now. There'll be people watching it in December, March, perhaps. What are your intake dates? Are they primarily now, September, and then the same fall 2025? Do you offer early, perhaps winter or spring entry
Mhm.
dates?
Yes, they could start as soon as January 2025. So if they're watching now and they go, oh, I didn't know much
Yeah,
about Suffolk, but now I know a lot. And I want to apply there. So we're accepting applications through into October for that. And if that's too soon, and if you're watching this, come in the new year when you said, you know what, here's my New Year's resolution. I'm going to move to the United States and pursue an LLM degree. And if that's the case, they can apply for our fall intake cycle, which begins at the end of August, and we will accept applications through the middle of May. So May of 2025. And I always encourage, certainly that Suffolk, if you've missed a deadline or if you're encountering a problem while you're going through the application, contact me, email me. And so sometimes there's flexibility. Maybe I can have another way for you to do something that's easier given your current circumstances. And so don't just say, no, I missed it. I'm going to have to wait another year. I think it's always, some of the most lovely people I see and work with in the LLM community, the greater LLM community, is we really all want to help students to pursue and come and do an LLM degree. And we believe in the power of education, and we want to be able to help you to do that. So I think that's some of my best advice is don't hesitate to contact admissions offices to see, maybe they have a suggestion or maybe it's not too late. Sometimes it will be, but it doesn't ever hurt to ask.
Super. Bridget, thank you for your time. Really appreciate that. We look forward to seeing you again soon. If anyone has any questions, look on your screen now. Email address is there. The one-to-one meeting to meet with Dean Sandusky is there. So feel free to take note of that. We will also be emailing you with the details, and Bridget will have your details also to reach out. So, but for now, thank you, Bridget, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you.